Close the executive session. We discuss legal matters and personnel and open the public meeting. Trustee Rosillo, second. Trustee Tarazzi, all in favor? Welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting, April 23rd, 2019. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This week we have Friday night. We have our new officers going to be appointed in the fire department for the village, and they're very, very first responders. Don't get a lot of thanks until they're actually needed, and so I'd like to say a prayer for their safety throughout this next year. We have all new leaders. We have a great team down at the fire department. We have a great team at the police department and at the ambulance corps. So let's bow our heads for a moment and keep them in our thoughts. Thank you. Okay. Paul Colombo is not here tonight, but we will have him do the oath of office at another time with either myself or our village clerk. But I'd like to just say a few words about Paul. He's been on the AHRB for a couple of years now, and I was on the nominating committee when we appointed Paul, and it was recommended by trustee, right, Nell? Paul Colombo, and he's done a wonderful job on the AHRB. So I'd like to take a motion to appoint Paul as a full member of the AHRB. Trustee Rosillo, second. Trustee Nell, all in favor? Unanimous.
I just want to say, as the liaison to the AHRB, he was great. I think he'll be a great addition as a permanent member to the AHRB. So I know we lost someone who was also valuable, but I think Paul will be great as a full-time member. So welcome, Paul.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a medical doctor with a design interest and art background. So he's a terrific family man. Oh, sorry. Can you hear now? Okay. Okay, I'd like to a continuation of the public hearing on the 2019 and 2020 tentative budget. Does anybody on the board have any comments on the budget? Anybody in the audience? No? I will thank everybody. If nobody has a comment, I will thank everybody involved in pulling the budget together. Our village administrator, Charlene Indelicato, down here to the right. Jeff Chuda, who is village treasurer, down here to the left. The Board of Trustees. I'd also like to thank the former Board of Trustees and the former mayor and deputy mayor, who made some tough decisions going back then that have come to this point and really helped us out financially in the village. There would be no increase in the tax rate. In fact, it went down a little bit. And when you compare Dobbs Ferry to the other villages, we fare very well. I think we're right up there on top, Jeff and Charlene, so that's great. I don't think anybody would be thrilled with big tax increases, but when you look at ours compared to theirs, the staff and managers of each of the departments have done a wonderful job. And let me thank the Citizens Budget Committee, also for the work they did in helping us out. Our new chair, Ron DeRusso, and the members of that committee did a terrific job in seeking to lower costs for the village. So I guess I need to take a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Deputy Mayor Cassell, all in favor? Passed. So we have a presentation by the Downtown Improvement Task Force, and Mary Mitchell will do the presentation. And Mary, would you prefer that we wait till you finish the presentation to ask questions?
Yes.
Or would you have? Okay, great. Thanks, Mary.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm a volunteer with the Downtown Improvement Task Force, and I first want to say thanks to Christy Nell for creating this task force and advising us, to Raven David for managing our team, and to fellow task force members for their ongoing efforts, and most of all to everyone in Dobbsbury who participated in or championed our research efforts over the past few months, and actually throughout part of last year. Want to show you that our current Downtown Improvement Community Survey, which is what I'm talking about tonight, it grew out of other efforts, many of which took place throughout 2018. Short paper surveys of residents, which we distributed during Fairy Festa and other events. We had more than 100 people responding to those. We had surveys of business owners going door to door. Chamber of Commerce helped us out with that. We had 15 respondents to that. We had community open forums at Dobbsbury Public Library and at Mercy College. Residents and small business owners attended those. Facilitators captured all the input. Based on all these efforts, we built on all that we had learned and looked to explore many topics further through our community survey. And we had 929 respondents to our community survey. We reached out through many community channels in order to make sure we were hearing from a broad cross-section of people, everything from the library membership list to Mercy College to Paul Finer's Town of Greenberg, list for Dobbsbury, all sorts of community channels. And everyone on the task force helped with this in getting the word out. We really appreciate that. We appreciate the strong response we had. Our survey was accessible across age groups and devices, and here are just a few examples of what it looked like on the smartphone and laptop desktop, as well. The hard copies were at Village Hall and at the library. People knew that they could go there to pick those up and complete them, and that worked things that we're talking about, and we're going to be covering that more in detail on the May 14th meeting, but just very, very quickly, some top-level things are parking meters, double parking and traffic flow on Cedar and Main, the need for speed limits and better safety, underutilization of the new parking lot, and the need for a shuttle service connecting downtown and waterfront. And this is a look at all. I'm going to spend just a moment on this slide because it's really important. When we ask residents to prioritize, here are top priorities, here are 15, tell us your top 5. And parking came in way at the top. 54% of people chose that, and it was quite a bit ahead of the next, which the next one was very strong as well. Add more specialty retail stores related to that, consistent, attractive storefronts, and then diverse restaurants. We love the restaurants, but we like a little more diversity as far as that, and outdoor gathering spaces. And you can kind of see the next few were all pretty close, doing 30% or so. So it's interesting to see the focus on that. And when we wondered, or when they were telling us to add more specialty retail, we wondered, well, what type of specialty retail would you like? The answer was clear, an independent bookstore. That came out first. 52% of people said that that was important to them, and they could pick up to 5 choices in this grouping. Card stationery store was next, and a gift shop boutique, and pop-up store market, and a toys game store. All of those were up very, very high. We've read many comments of people saying, oh yeah, I drive to Hastings to go to the stationery store. The bookstore, was something very important to them. They're looking not only for the books, but also experience and readings and author meetings and things like that. And it's noteworthy that while 57% buy goods online at least once a week, they still want to see these shops. We specifically asked about that. And really what they're talking about is unique experiences with retail. Downtown food beverage shops is another wish. They would love to have a bakery and a gourmet food shop and a cafe. These things came in top. Healthy eating is a big concern. They would follow special diets. And for downtown restaurants, even though they like restaurants we have, they'd love to have a Greek restaurant, Spanish tapas, Indian restaurant, and Thai cuisine. Those 4 were nearly tied for the top. And as far as dining experiences, they'd love to have a bistro, a cafe. Something you'll note at the very bottom, fast food court, that increased quite a bit once the Mercy College students saw a big spike and found that was the cause of that. They really want to have some fast food. The other folks, not so much. For ongoing entertainment options downtown, what they really want is a coffee house with live music. I'm sorry, I hear a theme here in the sense it's not just a place to get coffee, but coffee and entertainment. Or people told to drive in Cold Spring to go to a coffee house to listen to the music and enjoy the experience. A wine bar came in next, music theater, performance hall, and movie theater. These are some other entertainment options, as well as a brewery that came in very high. And for special events, people love to have more live music, food festivals, festivals like Berry Festa. Regarding the farmers market, yes, we have one, but so many of our folks drive to Hastings or Irvington because those are on the weekends. And if they're working, they have a hard time getting to the one here, which is during the week, in the daytime. So this is my second to last slide. What else do they suggest to improve downtown? And this is one for, we had more than 700 individual comments. I'm holding this up. This is a set of worksheets, just about 40 pages, of which we read every single comment, categorized, organized these, and found common themes. And all this information was then given to each member of the task force who had a special focus area. And they used this input to help with the recommendations, which you're going to be hearing more about. Just a quick, I'm not going to read these, but just to tell you, parking was the top. It cannot be overstated. Even though there was a question already asking about priorities and parking came in first, they still wrote about parking. Some 12 or more pages of this is all about parking. And retail was another, especially retail. They want to fill the empty storefronts, but please, please don't add more pizzerias or salons. mentioned parking, retail mix, and so on. All the detailed comments here, as well as other research inputs, each person is working on a specific area, and they've come up with wonderful recommendations of what to do going forward. So really encourage everyone here to please come on May 14th and hear those recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Nice job, Mary.
I'm happy if anyone has questions. I'm happy to take questions if that's.
I have a couple of comments, if I could. I think this is an extraordinarily thoughtful and well-organized approach to thinking about the downtown, and you can tell that it was an enormous amount of work. So thank you to you and everyone else. And I know you're thinking about different offshoots for this, but one that you might want to consider is the idea of having this available for people who might be considering a business
Yes.
in the downtown, right? So somebody who might be thinking of opening a restaurant would perhaps feel more confident if they knew, that,
Absolutely.
their cuisine was at the top of the list.
Yes.
But that's one of only that's only one of many, many uses for this.
Absolutely, and Sarah Colombo, one of our task force members, in fact, has suggested that. So we do plan to make that available, and we hope people will use it in that way. And I think the most important thing is that all those comments, we really did read and think about them, and we worked through them. We used it all, and so everyone who responded to the survey took the time to do so. It's really appreciated, and we did do a drawing of everyone who responded, and we awarded 10 restaurant gift certificates. And so people got a certificate to either Sam's or Harper's, which was nice. But anyway, thank you.
I think the process too was well received by both the residents and business owners. I was at a few of the meetings that you held down at the library, and it was very open, and you took ideas from everybody in the room, and it was really well done. Trustee, now thank you for.
And I must give credit, obviously, to Christy, to Raven, to various
Yeah.
other folks, some of whom are not here tonight, who led those meetings. I got involved in November, and they were already very deep into doing these, and so I really respect those efforts.
Let me ask everybody on the committee to stand up for a minute. They really put in a lot of hard work. Thank you all very much. Really great stuff. So we'll see you on, does anybody have any other questions or
I
comments?
just really want to thank Mary for the amazing job that she did, and of course, the rest of the team. I have joined some of those meetings when I can, and the passion and dedication that you guys put into this committee is extremely inspiring. And I really hope that a lot of more people would get involved, and that you guys can transmit the energy that you have in this particular committee to some of the other committees and some of the other people in town, because you did an amazing job with this. I remember all the research that you were doing, and Raven is just such a machine. But it's all a team effort, and of course, Christy is another great element of this team. So I just really want to thank you guys. You guys did an amazing job with this. Thank you.
Thank you so
That's
much,
great.
Laura. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you all. And we'll see you on the 14th. We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Great job. Excellent.
Okay, we have courtesy of the floor. So is there anybody that would anybody want to make a comment to the board or ask a question of the board? Sir? Come on up to the mic and just state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Mark Rusciano. I live at 100 Main Street. Presume saying that phrase causes some murmurs in the crowd. I have had the pleasure, first of all, Mayor and Board, thank you very much for some comments. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting many of you here, but I want to take the opportunity, since there is debate for planning at 100 Main, to at least introduce myself, explain why I moved here, so that in the coming months and weeks, you can have that in mind when contemplating the development. My name is Mark Rusciano, as I said. My wife Devon and I, and our 8-week-old daughter. There was a PowerPoint. I would have flashed some pictures here to make you feel emotional about it. But your 8-week-old daughter Max called one of the apartments in 100 Main our home as of 2 years ago. I have plenty of experience dealing with development, with property managers, with landlords, with all kinds of development teams, and having to shift and move my life. So I'm a realist. I understand that. But I also learned over the years that my emotional attachment to where I live doesn't generally matter to property managers or developers. The majority of the time, if you're lucky to get a landlord that cares, that's usually rare. So I wanted to take an opportunity to potentially make you care about my story and my family and how we moved here. We moved to Dobbs Ferry directly to 100 Main Street 2 years ago. Since I've called Dobbs my home, I got engaged in that apartment. I got married in Tarrytown. 8 weeks ago today, my daughter Max was born in Phelps Hospital. We've enrolled our daughter in a Dobbs Ferry Dobbs Ferry daycare. We found a nanny who's lived in Dobbs Ferry for 20 plus years with her family. We eat at sushi at least once a week. We eat at Dobbs Ferry Diner probably at least it's the first place my daughter's gonna go for meals when she's allowed out of the house. We spend countless hours with Jimmy over at the cleaners talking. My wife and I spend so much time in the library. As much as I live on Main Street, Dobbs Fest is something that I enjoy. And there's probably some people that live here that maybe don't enjoy that, but I do. And I think many of you know Beth and Dan Bolger, my neighbors at 100 Main. They've been here for 10 plus years. I now have a Dobbs family because of them. None of this would have happened if I didn't move to Dobbs Ferry. Again, I was 42 years old, and I didn't plan on having a family or settling down because I didn't have a sense of community in any place that I lived. And that was because of Earl's living. And honestly, we felt pushed out by development. The last apartment I lived in was in Brooklyn. We felt pushed out by development, lost a sense of community there, and that's why we moved here. And if I'm speaking honestly, this is the best apartment that I've ever lived in. It's the most space that I've had, and I just, for the life of me, don't understand why there's plans to knock it down and start over. Everything to me seems perfect. I know it's probably a narrow-minded view, but the reason I'm sharing all of this with you, again, I said I'm a realist, is that the idea of the apartments that are being proposed, I wouldn't have moved there. Like, my wife and I would have just kept looking if that apartment building that's being proposed was in that location. And I guess as I'm trying to put my roots down in Dobbs Ferry, and we love it here, and I want to grow old here, if that's what's going to happen with downtown, I don't know if it's right for me. And that's, again, may not be anybody else's problem. I just wanted to be able to say that to the board, to say that I put my roots down here, I'm willing to stay here, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. So,
Great. Thank you,
thank you
Mark.
very much for your time, I appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Anybody else like to make a comment to the board? Steve?
Steve Tilley, 22 Elm Street. I just want to follow up and congratulate my friends on the Downtown Improvement Committee for that great work. I know I participated as an owner and a business owner, and I welcome their analysis. I'm looking forward to the discussion of parking, which was obviously, I don't need to remind you, the top issue that showed up. And as you're considering other issues downtown and other development, I just have you keep that in mind. And I also wanted to thank you for doing the mock-up at 100 Main Street, because I think that's a really good precedent for a technique to use in considering new development. The other one that I would encourage, and we've encouraged the planning board, is actually a physical model or a continuous digital model of the entire downtown, which someone who works at the library had offered to do if we sent them digital files, and they could do in a 3D printer. Because that, we all saw the balloons waiting around. It's a little bit dicey, you don't quite know what's going on. I know Patty offered to actually construct something on the roof, and the building inspector probably right, so he said, who knows, we don't want anybody killed by something.
Good move, Ed.
But, in other places, they
Great, thanks, Steve. Anyone else? Address the board? No?
Mr. Mayor, can I say something? As following up with the message that everybody has led with after the presentation about the parking, I live on Palisade Street, and I see 99-seater empty all day long. I drive through the downtown, and I see parking. I always, every time that I come down, that if I have to drive somewhere, that I am going somewhere, and I live behind Main Street, there is parking. A 99-seater was open. Charlene, when was, in December 1st, was it that we opened it?
Yeah.
December 1st, and that parking lot sits empty. So I'm gonna be very open and very straightforward with all of you. We have a whole parking lot that sits empty all day. And I have to share that with you guys, because I keep hearing that there's no parking and there's no parking. We built a parking lot, but nobody's using it. So, let's start utilizing the things that we have in town. Because I do understand that some people don't want to walk up the hill, but you know what? There were nights that I came home before we had the residential permit. It was 9 o'clock at night. I drove for half an hour, 40 minutes, no parking anywhere. And that was before I was a trustee, and I was standing there and say to the board, I have nowhere to park. And I wanted a parking lot. And now I'm so grateful that I have a parking lot over there. So I would just really want people to build the awareness, talk to each other, start using it. We all can use a little bit of exercise. I will go up and down the hill as long as I can find parking. So I encourage you guys, please, let's utilize the things that we all work so hard to try to provide to you guys. The pool is being built, the community center is being built. We just passed a great budget. I just want us to start focusing a little bit more on the positive that is going on. I know that everything is not positive, but let's try to see a little of the good in all of the craziness that sometimes we all see. So, thank you.
Thank you,
Wanted to
trustee.
share that.
Thank you. Okay, we have a continuation of the discussion of the proposed development of 100 Main Street for the purpose of compiling comments for the planning board.
Mr. Mayor, could I just pipe in? The reason why you put this off till today was that you were able to schedule a site visit, a site walk, as many of you could. And it was a combined meeting with the members of the planning board and members of your architectural and historic review
Right.
board. So that was accomplished last Thursday. And I think Mr. Tilley referred to the mock-up with the balloon, so that was provided as well. So we're
Yeah,
gonna.
all the board members had a chance
Right,
to.
and you had asked the developer's representative to come in to do a little bit of a follow-up, and then you're going to enter into the record your thoughts and observations.
You need time to set up, Patty, or you? Okay, why
Okay.
don't you?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Pat Steinschneider, Godwin Design, Community Development, here representing the owner of the property, Leon Sutton. As the village attorney just surmised nicely, that's exactly where we're at. You've been asked by the planning board to opine on a couple of specific details as to whether or not this board would consider the idea of saving the existing structure that's referred to as the barn, if doing so meant an addition on the back of the front building and a partial fourth floor addition. What we were asked to do by several of the trustees at the sidewalk was bring in the SketchUp model that we prepared for this. And basically, we can kind of spin you around and show you any views of this that you'd like to see. This is the view on Elm Street. Mr. Tilley's office is right to the right here. This is the garage barn. The existing structure is basically here. And this is a 16-foot addition on the back and a partial fourth floor addition. This is a massing model for all intents and purposes. This has not been reviewed by the Architectural Review Board yet. So what happens with this and how it would develop, if this is the direction that the board decides would be the best to take, it would have to still go through that process. I know one of the comments that was mentioned at the walk was whether it would be possible to create an articulation here, potentially bring this wall back to reduce the massing on this side. There was even conversation that if we needed to
talked about. But again, that's really after.
Right, that's more of AHRB
Right.
type of
And it's
topics.
The real situation, you know, the thing we're really talking about is whether or not the fourth floor, partial fourth floor on this building would be something that this board would be willing to consider if that is the recommendation that is made by the planning board. So,
Why do you call it
So-
a partial fourth floor?
because it doesn't cover the entire footprint of the building. One of the things that we have in the downtown guidelines, and I think it's actually also in the code, is that whenever you're considering a fourth floor, you don't bring it out to the
Yep.
street line,
Okay.
but you set it back. So we have done that. This is actually 15-foot setback at this corner, so that if you were standing on the street and looking up, you'd still see the same effectively cornice line of where that is. And again, how this is detailed and worked out has not been done. So the idea, though, is that this would still remain the existing 3 stories. The fourth floor would set back further.
Patty, approximately how large is the fourth floor in terms of a square footage?
That's a good question.
And what is the addition in total?
Yeah, the addition that we're putting on is 16 feet, but the fourth floor, basically your fourth floor is 48 feet by, let's see, about 25. So 25, or figure 20, because it jogs, 20 by 48 is the total. So,
That's including going out in the rear.
right.
Yeah, 2,500 square feet.
It's not, I mean, the existing building is not large, and the addition we're proposing is not large. You add the 2 not larges, you don't get a large. It's still a rather compact building in the downtown. If you look at the building that's 2 down from this, it's actually deeper than this building is, and there are other buildings in town that are far larger than what this is. So this isn't a big building. This is 2 bedrooms for a duplex unit that uses this part of the 3rd floor, and then the addition, and then this part and the 1st floor is the other duplex. So you've got 2 duplexes on the base and 2 duplexes on the top for a total of 4 units.
What's the existing square footage?
Existing square footage.
Not including the commercial.
Well, not including the commercial, you've got just about 3,000 square feet. But the apartments are about, I think, a little bit bigger than 1,500 each. Kind of in a mindset model, not numbers.
So what is,
But I can
what,
give you all that stuff, and that's something that the planning board has already kind of gone over and would be part of any.
and there'll be, instead of 2 units of 2 bedrooms each, there'll be 4 units of 2 bedrooms each.
Can I go play with the thing, the SketchUp
Yeah.
on his computer?
Um,
Not gonna raise it.
Stay away from that delete button.
Yeah, it's hard to move on this machine. You have to move forward.
That's a good
I
vantage
think
point,
Christie
Christie.
broke it.
So in order to,
Look at that, too.
in order to save the barn, right?
Well, that's an argument, I don't know if that's.
Patty, I have one more question for you. Patty, I'm sorry. You know that I'm burying this square feet. I'm burying the square footage. So you say that the whole mass of the current apartment, not including the retail, is 3,000 square feet.
What I'm looking for right now is the site coverage for the existing building, which is
Which will make each apartment 1,500 square feet.
approximately.
But I know
And
that-
hallways and everything else.
But I know that on the previous meeting, I asked you about what was going to be the approximate size of these apartments, and
Thank you.
each you say that it will be between 1,500 to 1,700 square feet approximately.
The gross area in the building would be about that, but the units would be a little bit smaller than 1,500 square feet each.
Each, okay, okay.
Yeah, the existing footprint of the building is 1,950 square feet.
Thank you, Patty.
And
Christie,
that includes the porch and everything that sticks out
Christie, could you go back to the street view across the street?
She's
That's it.
having fun. She's having
That's
fun
it.
with that.
And can you make it a little bit so we can see? Okay.
Be a bigger screen.
So wait, when you stop there though, like that, the first 3 stories is how the building is today.
Right.
And this would be, I was just gonna say, that's not across the street,
Well,
is it?
there is a
No,
way
it
you
doesn't
can
look like
do
it's,
that.
but it's already existing, if it's there. You're
Right, I
seeing it
mean,
with the
but this
addition
is-
on top.
But this is my view from across the street.
Yes,
Right.
Right, that's a good
and
one
on
too.
the top there, it's how much taller than the building 2 doors down.
I still don't understand what is that portion that pops forward between the 2 balconies.
That provides you, this area here is a little bump out that gives you a door that goes out onto the roof deck. So this sticks out about 4 feet from there to there, and it sets back about 9 feet from the front door.
Can you get rid of it?
I mean, there's.
I
there's
can
a
see,
design-
I can see it from the street, that's why. Remember that was what you and I were discussing?
I mean, the goal here is not to be able to not see something. The goal here is to actually do something that would be good in this location. So I have confidence in the architectural review board. These are things they would be obviously paying attention to. I don't know that that's something that at this point in the stage of the process, since we haven't even gotten a site plan yet, that we would be nuancing whether or not we had a bump out to provide an access to the deck.
Ed?
I'm trying to minimize the mass.
Before we go to ARB, this board wants to see it's code compliant building, and to hit that 4th floor, the code requires 10-foot setback.
Ed,
Sorry, Ed,
They
sorry,
want you
I
on
gotta
the
go to the
mic.
mic.
need a mic, yeah, thank you.
So this bump out, according to your plan, I think it was 8 1/3 feet setback.
Right.
These are more than the required 10
Right.
at 14. But you're gonna get this part back to 10, and if you need to keep the doors, these may have to go back a little bit further to keep the doors. So this needs to be, the whole thing needs to be a minimum 10.
So move back 1'9". So what you're saying is you'd like it, if this moved back 1'9", which we could do is we could just bring those other 2 sides out to line up with that. So that would get rid of the bump out that,
No.
Chris talking about.
it's what the code
Give us
requires.
a little bit more square footage.
The code requires that setback.
Code requires a minimum 10.
Minimum
the front.
10-foot setback on, yeah.
Right, and what we've proposed is 15 on the corners, and we went to 8'3", 8'4" in the middle section, so we would have a sufficient job. But we could obviously, if there was a concern, we could pull that back and even the whole thing out. And that would get rid of the bump.
Well, I don't think it's a question of getting rid of the bump, I think it's making the bump compliant, move it back 2 feet to
It
make it
needs to
10
be
feet.
10 feet.
10 feet's not a problem.
Yeah.
If I understood more correctly.
That's Maura's point, yeah.
Get rid of the bump.
That was
We're
more.
not-
You haven't gotten used to the way that I talk to you anymore?
Not yet.
So Patty, when we were at the walkthrough, there was conversation about it being 4 2-bedroom units, or it could be 6 1-bedroom units. I mean, I think it's important, especially for the pile-up issue, to know what it's proposed to be, because we have to kind
Well,
of,
we've proposed something specific. When people have asked me what else we could do,
okay, so I'm not,
I
so I,
answered that question. We've proposed 4 2-bedroom units.
okay,
We have a specific number of parking spaces on site, which is 4 in the garage. And that's what we have shown to the planning board, which is
Okay.
on the basis on which they have asked these questions of this board. This is not the review for this project. That happens after.
no, I understand what our purview is, I just wanna make sure I understood what was being proposed by the owner to us and what we're referring back.
The question
to
that
the
was
planning
asked
board.
of us was, why such large units?
No, I know, I understand, yeah.
And we said we could do this as 6 smaller units, but then the village board would have to be interested in giving either the curbside parking or the pileups for 6 units instead of 4.
So,
To me,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, to me, thinking about this
Is,
from a site plan standpoint,
There's no public comment.
my concerns are more about the back of the building where it pushes out and it's got the full height, as opposed to the way the code was designed with a setback on the street side. to minimize the impact of the top of a building, if it were given the right to 4 stories, looming over the street.
Right. But of course, in the back, it's a 3-story structure.
It is a 3-story structure coming up a hill, and so the visual impact to me, in terms of how it fits in the site, it feels higher to me and bigger, more of a.
Can you see that, can you move it so that we can see it from the aqueduct and like, or up Elm Street more?
So that's from the aqueduct. And let's figure out how to go back, not that way.
So Laura Lee, maybe you could help clarify something. For us, this has to, in order for us to approve the 4th floor, it has to meet, according to our code, certain criteria. We have to be able to justify it. And I think to justify it, we have to show that enhances the residential diversity of the downtown and affordability of the downtown.
Correct. You're looking at table B-8, Downtown District's Dimensional Standards. And in notes A, it says, the stories may be increased to 4 stories and 45 feet in the DB and DG zones, and 4 stories and 40 feet in the DT zone at the discretion of the Board of Trustees to, quote, accomplish the goal and objectives of enhancing residential diversity and affordability in the downtown, end quote.
So for me, I would leave it to the planning board and the architectural review board to detail how it would look. But I think for us, it's important, is there any justification to even go with the 4th floor? So Patty, maybe you could tell, what's your argument for saying that it does lead to diversity or affordability? What would be your argument to support that?
Well, I haven't been the one that's made that argument, so to speak. This was something I was asked specifically to do by the planning board. We brought a plan in that was code compliant, which we presented in December. They asked us to do a timeout and to consider a design that would preserve the existing barn garage. Was there a way to do that? The concept, as presented to me, was that if there is that value for saving the barn garage, that would be the merit that was justifying the 4th floor. So that's how we proceeded on it. If that's not something that the board feels is a justification for that, that's the purpose for us being here tonight. But I think that the planning board wanted to make sure is that we didn't go through this with the planning board, come out with a design that then we presented to you with the recommendation, which you then said, how did you get here? So the idea was to come here and ask that question now, before we proceed with the planning board. If this is not the direction, then we go back to the one where we took the time out.
Right, so and I'm not putting words into your mouth, which would be impossible, I think, but.
Could you use the microphone? We can't hear you.
But, not to put words in your mouth, but, so your argument sort of would be that saving the barn would meet the requirements of the statute.
To put words in my mouth, it has been presented to me by many people in the community, sufficient to give me a foundation that when the planning board asked me to give serious consideration to that, I agreed to do so. So we took a look at a design concept that would accomplish that task, and I'm not the one who's making the decision of whether I think that has merit. To offset, it's really not, I would have not ever tried to keep this garage structure.
And in the code leaves it the discretion up to this board. So you could find discretion, you could find to act on the discretion if you find there's diversification of residential units, or if there's an affordability issue connected with having additional units. I mean, there's 2 units now. They're going to put 2 more units at the same size. It's all part of the process with you. But just be sure to get observations. I know you're asking questions as follow-up to your observations. Just be sure that you're clear about what you saw that day, you know, what you'd like to see, what you didn't like to see. I mean, and just make sure that you get that into the record before you proceed to reach a consensus on the two issues at hand.
Do you have a picture, sorry?
No, I just have a quick question. You had two plans, the one that the timeout was on and this one. If we say that we'd consider this tonight, does that mean that this is going to be the main plan, or are both plans still in play and it's up to the planning board?
I think if this board decided that this was the direction they wanted us to go, wanted the planning board to go, it would be a hard case for us to not go that direction. So I
That was so not a yes or no, Patty.
You're asking me to opine on a hypothetical. I mean,
Right, yeah.
if this board.
I just didn't know if both plans are still in play.
I mean, as Steve and Anna know, I've committed that if this is what they would like to see us do, we've taken this very seriously and we've tried to make it work. So if they wanted, if this was what the planning board wanted us to proceed with, we would.
But will you consider some of the observations that we made during our walk in terms of expanding the building more to the back and doing some of the extra things that we just randomly were discussing? I'm just curious.
That information would just go to the planning board. There are some very real planning things here that have to be maintained. So the idea that we could somehow eliminate the fourth floor by coming out further from the back of the building towards the garage, well, you're starting to get to our other scheme, first of all. Second of all, it would preclude being able to use the garage for parking. So you've got, you'd be giving up the reason that this has been proposed as a approach. Can we eliminate the porches on the back and get more square footage? Possible to do. Do I think it's a good idea? No. I think the idea of porches being on the back of this and bringing that down in scale is a good thing, particularly given Trustee Taylor's comments about the perceived massing of this and how it looks on the street. I think something like this, where there's a porch stretching across, gives you a dowry scale that makes you feel that the building is more human scale. So we think that this is a good idea. I did mention already that there were comments about could we erode this corner more and push it back, though I will say that conversations that we've had with the chair of the Architecture Review Board on this informally is he is not a fan of the erosion technique because he doesn't think it reduces the apparent mass of the building. He, of course, this is what he would do when we go beforehand. He said he would think that a very simple, clean, well-designed building would be better than one that's trying to cut itself back to be less.
Do you have a visual of what the building looks like now from the aqueduct without the fourth story?
I'm going to try to do that.
And did you bring the cardboard cutout or no?
I brought the cardboard model.
Oh, it is there.
but,
I can't see it.
What I also have is,
Terrible.
let's see.
Is that the same one that you had at the walkthrough, Patty?
Yeah.
Oh.
Every night it's like one that we tear it apart and then the next day we rebuild.
I thought you were gonna add the two neighboring buildings to it so I could see what the scale was compared to the
Since
neighbor
Thursday,
buildings.
We haven't had the time to do that. This is the model showing the addition that has a pink roof on it. This is the existing garage structure. And I'm gonna try and figure out how I can get this off the screen, at which point I can show you what you asked for.
Thank you.
So, what did you want to see?
I wanted to see the,
Pictures of the existing building.
well, no, I wanted the 3D from the aqueduct with the existing building. But if you have a picture from behind, I'll look at the picture.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, this, that's on the aqueduct, looking at the back of the proposed building.
That's with the fourth
garage
story.
there.
That's with the fourth story.
That's with the fourth story. What I was trying to get to is here. I thought you were asking pictures of the existing structure.
No, I wanted to see it from like behind the barn, the same way we were looking at the proposed building.
Well, this is, I think, is this what you were asking for?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
So I mean, it's a different
picture
angle,
instead
but
of 3D, but.
The picture is pretty 3D. It's as much 3D as the other edition, right? It's still on a flat plane.
yeah.
So, and
So I asked because, you know, when you go to the vision plan and it talks about the downtown, one of the things it says on Cedar, Maine is that, and I'm just quoting from it, it says a fourth story should be permitted when designed so as not to block important views or loom over the street or adjacent buildings, and then it gives use of setbacks or dormers, and that's architectural stuff, but I just wanted to see like what the real difference is and if it's blocking any of the, you know, important views or if it's looming over the view or how it is.
I thought it was fairly clear at the sidewalk that what is blocked now.
It's hard to tell from the sidewalk what it's going to be increased when you add the fourth story in the back from the aqueduct.
Nothing from a view that is a person standing on the street, the backyard, or the neighboring homes. It's all an addition above. It would block some skyline
Right.
3 feet above the existing ridge. So you'd lose a sliver coming across, and of course it gets bigger on the two sides where the angle of the roof comes down. But you're blocking sky, not palisades, rivers, other buildings, and it's not looming over any other building, other than the fact that it's obviously taller than it is now. But if you see this photograph, I mean, the person who is here has, if you will, this building looming over that would be approximately the same height. So it's not a, you know, and I think, yeah, actually, I've got it here somewhere. One of the things we did with the streetscape is we kind of shortened up the streetscape so that we could see, you might recognize this building. This is the building at the corner of Main Street and Chestnut, and this is where we're proposing Main Street and Elm. And this is our height of roof, that dotted line, which is approximately the same height as that building. So those are, you know, they're comparable in size. And so far, I haven't had anyone suggest that 78 is looming over anyone. And that one doesn't have the setback. That building has the full massing. It does use the mansard to break down the massing and so on. But of course, it's a four-story plane.
Anybody else?
Have our discussion now?
Yes, you should.
Okay.
You should
Okay.
enter any observations and discuss.
But we're done, everyone's done asking Patty questions, or no?
Everybody's finished? Any questions?
Or
For
you
now,
could-
but he's not going anywhere. So.
Yeah.
No, but he can, but it's not like, it's between us now, right?
So I can leave now?
Do we need to take a poll now, or?
No, you
no,
need,
we're
you
just
need to
asking for
have
a
discussion
discussion.
amongst yourselves and talk about your observations from last Thursday.
So I'll start. So the two things that we're talking about here are whether or not we can, or we would permit a fourth story in the future, right, given these presentations, and the parking. How many parking spots are we potentially waiving on this?
2.
Two. Those are the two key things, correct?
I'd
Correct.
like to see the definite floor plan to determine the parking.
Can you go to the microphone?
Right, because we don't know what the definite floor plan is to know what we're waiving in parking.
It hasn't changed.
It's two,
We submitted to the planning board, and
two-bedroom apartments,
they're all
so.
two-bedroom apartments, 4 two-bedroom apartments, 4 units times 1 is 4, and then you've got the 8 units requiring 2 spaces.
Okay. And the only reason we're supposed to allow 4 stories is if it accomplishes the goal and objectives of enhancing residential diversity and affordability in the downtown. It has nothing to do with the barn or historic barn, it has nothing to do with the barn, unless that is
Well, I think that creates
enhancing residential diversity and affordability in the downtown.
I think the barn would create residential diversity. I mean, you're preserving something that's
garage.
historic, like what they call the barn, whatever they're gonna plan garage. I mean, you can make an argument that keeps the residential diversity, so you don't just have buildings, you have like a different type of building in the downtown.
Right,
It's not
okay.
about diversity like people, it's residential diversity,
Got
so
it.
building diversity.
And then we'd be adding, it would be 2 more apartments as designed. So we'd be adding more, and they're condos or and we don't know any of this
At
for
this
sure,
point,
right?
it's
Yeah.
rental, but I'm
We
not
don't know.
sure what works out economically on this.
Okay.
It might be, it makes more sense if this is only 4 units that they get sold as condos.
Okay. And in doing all of the downtown improvement task force stuff that you saw a second ago, we've been going to many of the downtowns. Mike and I went to Tarrytown, Hastings, Irvington, Larchmont. Mike went to Sleepy Hollow, Ardsley. So we've been going like physically to these downtowns more, and I guess that's why I have more of a visceral reaction to adding a 4th story for this reason, because the ones that we like the most, Tarrytown and Hastings and Irvington, and that, that's what 950 some odd people like the most. They're not taller, and so I'm hesitant to want anything that is 4 stories, even if it has a setback, and even if there's another 4-story on the block, mostly because I don't want more 4 stories. Like, if we just allow this one because it saves the barn, which is, arguably a reason to do it, then I don't want the whole in-between to then be like, oh, well then, all of these have somewhat of a valid argument to add a 4th story. I just, like, the 3 stories keeps the sky visible from the ground when you're walking on Main Street, so that the experience that you have when you're walking to to all of the places on your downtown is quaint and smaller and not looming. Like, that's one of the hugest reasons I wanted to leave the city, was that you can never see the sky. Like, it's just too many buildings. And so I feel like it would have to have a real legit, strong reason to go to 4 stories. And in my opinion, this is not enough. So that's my thinking. And that, like, going down with all of us down on the street just kind of solidified it. It's still, like, it's already a pretty big building. Like, one of the, it's wider and it's decently
That's why I
tall.
keep referring back again to the square footage, because, I think that there are still opportunities of making the building beautiful and developing the building without the necessity of adding the 4th floor. And even because it's not covering the whole mass of the up floor, I still want to know what is the purpose of it. It doesn't, because you have not identified exactly what you're going to put there, it's not clear to us what is the purpose of the 4th floor.
And to just real end on my thought was that I don't think that nothing should happen. I think that
Agreed.
having more units downtown to bring more people to be living downtown helps the walkability, it helps sustainability. There's a lot of benefits. It helps our taxes to have more residents, more units downtown. And so I'd much prefer looking at one that goes back, and I don't know what the solution is for the barn, but I'd rather explore that than go up.
Good.
But my understanding is that design was not 100%
Yeah.
to code.
Exactly, so it's not like we're talking
That
about
one.
a code compliant anything.
This is.
Ed?
Except the parking. It's never code compliant with the parking.
The height is not,
This is 40 feet. I thought we had 45.
not 40 feet in the back.
We're 40 feet to the top of the flat roof.
They're allowed to give you 45.
Right. This is 40 feet.
I'm gonna go for it.
They're allowed to give you 45 with the 4th floor. This is, you're going back to a 3-story scenario,
I don't have that one.
which is 40. So you're at 40, not to the ridge here.
This is the one from.
That's not a ridge.
This is the
That's a
other one
parapet.
we got.
That was actually yours.
It's a flat roof on
Yes.
this
That's
parapet.
much bigger. Those are four
And
stories.
what's the height of the
3
parapet?
foot.
3 foot all the way across?
Yep.
Is that in this packet? I don't see it.
I mean, regardless, that's not what we're, right? It's not what we're looking at now.
Is that the
but-
former plan? Is
No,
that,
I don't think it's in that package.
This is the previous, this is the
Okay.
plan.
I only asked Patty because it predates me, so I'm just trying to put it in perspective. Thank you.
Right, well, what Christie is saying that she made a couple of pictures about it, and this is what we showed before, this doesn't have it. This also doesn't.
So this is the 6 units, has 8 of the 9 required parking
This
spaces.
sets back from the aqueduct 10 feet minimum, it actually sets back 13 feet at the corner.
It's saying it's close
This
to
has 4 cars parked under the section here, and it has 2 cars parked under the section here, so it's a total of 6 cars, which is 2 more than we're proposing, but we have 2 more units that we're proposing. So this would still require 2 on-street parking spaces.
And I didn't mean to bring this up to even like start talking about this one again, because it's not
Yeah,
It's
this
not
is
what we're
not
talking
before
about
you,
here,
yeah,
but I
it's
just wanted to also say, I'm not saying I think we should just have 2 units there and be like, done.
But it's not 2
Right.
units, it's 4 units. I mean, so it's like if you're
No, I
talking.
mean, the current one is 2 units.
No, I know,
Right.
right, but the proposed one now with the 4th story is 4 units, and like, does having 2 4-bedroom units bring residential diversity into the downtown? Does it make something more affordable so that families can live in a 1,500 square foot apartment, which is a nice size for a family versus having to buy, you know, houses that are really expensive? Will it bring more families and people to the downtown versus an alternative plan, which is just 6 apartments, it's only additional 2 on what we're talking about? I mean, is that really gonna be a big difference? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure about that either, although I do think it's in between some of the development and or existing
Yeah.
housing stock downtown that are smaller rentals
Yeah.
that aren't new and modern, and some of the things like 75 Main, which are at a higher
Right.
price point in terms of the, you know, being somewhere in between, as you say, for families.
Yeah, I've been liaison to the planning board, so I've seen all these reiterations. I don't think I've only hit 100 Main again. However, in seeing them all, I'm not necessarily in favor of a 4th floor, because we made the code for a reason. But what I do like about this one, as opposed to some of the other ones, is that it preserves that open space
Yes.
in the middle, and it's not one big, massive building going back. And it also, for those who are concerned about the barn and its historic significance to the village itself, this does preserve it. And from the front, it does set back off the street, so I don't think on Main Street that you see the massive height. The height from the side is a little concerning, especially now hearing that the AHRB isn't considering doing anything, because
One person made one comment.
one person made one comment. Because if we did allow a 4th story, I'd like to be something so that it's not quite so massive on Elm Street, that there'd be some breaking up of it in some way. That's the AHRB and the planning board's prerogative. As I said, I'm not thrilled with the idea of a 4th story, but considering preserving the space in the middle and preserving the barn, which has some significance to the village, I'd be open to that.
And I think it does matter. I mean, I know that it's not before us, but the alternative, if we don't find the justification for a 4th story on the residential diversity and affordability, you do have to factor in what's the alternative proposal is gonna be. Because how else do you compare what creates the residential diversity? Does adding the 4th story create more diversity and affordability by keeping the open space and the garage and all that? Or would the alternative preserve those ideals as well, and then we don't need to bother with it? So without understanding what a proposed alternative would be, it's hard to make that determination, to me, reasonably.
Well, in my opinion, and I come down sort of where Christie is, I think I would trust the AHRB and the planning board to develop the 4th floor in a certain way. So I wouldn't, in an adequate way, so I'm not going to argue about that, but to me, legally, does the 4th floor meet the requirements of the statute? And I don't see that with the additional 2 apartments. I don't think it creates enough residential diversity or affordability to justify the 4th floor. So in my opinion, I would not favor of the fourth floor.
I was not at the formal site visit as I was out of town, but I have spent some time walking around the site. And while I do have some concerns about the back of the property and the way that the massing on the site from the back on Elm Street, I'm not as concerned about Main Street. And I do like to see investment in the downtown,
Yeah.
which does promote newer housing stock, safer, and I like just the idea of it looking different than buildings that are taking up the whole, every square inch of the space that's available as it faces the street. I have some of the concerns that Vinnie has just expressed and Christie expressed earlier, and I don't know whether or not knowing exactly what the layout, and you're saying it would be two, and I don't know whether one-bedroom apartments, I'm trying to think this through up here on the dais, and we may need to consult with the village attorney in some more detail about exactly how we could interpret or should interpret that statute as to whether or not, some smaller apartments that were more affordable, for example, would change, or whether a difference between them being apartments or condominiums, because to my knowledge, there aren't a lot of condominium, those types of things in the village that would be in that sort of middle price range, if you will, and whether that would make a difference.
I think,
It's a long-winded way of saying I'm on the fence.
no, but I think it's a tough,
It's a tough call, but again, it's based on the facts as presented. You can't legislate the form of ownership, unfortunately. You don't have
Are
that
we allowed to judge it?
flexibility.
As to
You
whether
can
or not
judge
it would create a different
that was
type
my
of
point.
housing in the village.
Correct, and it would meet that diversity and affordability aspect that is the criteria in Appendix B. I agree with that. It's not within your purview to mandate that, but you can certainly discuss how that would be more closer or less closer to making people more comfortable with the issue. And the developer's rep can hear you on that aspect. But to hang your hat on that as a way to get consensus, you might want to just consider other criteria as well, finding some other way under your local law criteria to meet your obligation in order to exercise your discretion.
When you're talking about the December 2018 model with 6 apartments, what type of apartments are they? Are they they're all 2 bedrooms?
Yeah.
So it's
But probably smaller, right?
massive.
They're about the same size.
About the same size?
As Donna pointed out, at that point, we're filling just in. We have a side yard setback that we provided, so we lose some of that, but we're coming back to this line. So we have more square footage in the 6 units. I think the 6 units
identical.
average about 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, so each apartment would be smaller. And the parking on the December version was you would have 8 spaces,
Watch out.
8 of the 9.
The code was adopted so that we couldn't put structure within 10 feet of the aqueduct. That has now been interpreted that includes parking. But I'm not sure that's what it is. If we had the design that we proposed initially, not initially, in November, we would have 8 parking spaces on site with 2.5 feet of the parking space, not necessarily in the car, projecting out under the building towards the aqueduct. But we would then have the 10 feet from the property line of the aqueduct, which is not the path. It's interesting, the other day when we were there, the person who lives in the other unit came out and he said, why aren't you putting cars behind here? And I said, because that's not our property, because I thought the property line was up here with the top of the ridge. I said, no, the property line's in the building. That's sloped down, that's part of the aqueduct. So what we're basically, we would be filling that with landscaping, and that would screen anything that you would see. So there are ways to deal with that.
Right.
At which point you'd have 8 parking spaces on site, which would be all the requirements.
Right. I mean,
Still need more.
I'm sort of in, you know, with, some-
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Ed was gonna
You wanna say
make
something,
some
Ed?
comment to that, directly to Patty's point.
The code says that, in this zone, the parking has to be 10 feet from
the aqueduct.
property line. Not just the, no, property line. So, except if it's enclosed. So when you drive into a parking structure like 75 Main, that can be right on the parking lot. But what the problem here is that now we can't have a structure within 10 feet of the aqueduct. So can you enclose it with screening of green screening? Would that be considered enclosed? That would be the thing to decide here.
And that's a discussion for planning board and architectural review board recommendations to the board of trustees.
I mean, my own personal feeling, and I like the, you know, the fourth story. I mean, I don't have a big problem with it. I would prefer not to have a fourth story. I'm not sure if the barn is worth saving or not. Does it really have historical value? You know, I did see this 6-unit. I like that more. I mean, it's you're staying within the height. It looks like it's diverse. There's economic benefits, not only for the developer, but for the village, for the downtown, for affordability. You know, the more apartments, depending on what they are, condominium rentals, can make it more affordable to stay here in Dobbs Ferry. I know we have problems with younger people. I know my kids had to move out of the village. Older folks, I don't want to call myself an older folk, but, you know, that's something we have to consider. Can, you know, people afford to stay in Dobbs Ferry anymore? It's a serious concern. You know, I love people from Brooklyn, I love people from Manhattan, but I also love the people that have been here for a while, and I'd like to see them stay. And I would lean, I mean, I'm open to what the planning board has recommended. Maybe this is on the fence too, Larry, but, yeah. It's a tough decision. I mean, I'm really torn between two lovers. I mean, I like both places, but I think I would prefer the 6-unit, or if it could be 5 units with the appropriate parking. I'm not sure, you know, I'd have to look at that further.
Fewer larger units doesn't necessarily do what we really need.
Not larger units, but 5 units instead of 6 of 1,200 square.
You have to have a certain number that supports.
I'm not, legally, am I allowed to say this? Am I all right with this line of,
If it's your opinion, you're legally entitled to give it.
okay, I just want to make sure. But I think, as Trustee Nell said, and a few of the other trustees, I think I would prefer going in that direction.
I mean, in my opinion, my issue with the 4th floor is, as Donna described, the mass on Elm, because you know I'm the one that told you about, which is setting it back a little bit more and expanding the deck. For me, it's all about decreasing the mass. I am honestly, you know that I'm the only trustee that live in the downtown, and I am tired of walking around, and in every corner that I pass by, you know, the buildings are getting bigger and bigger. And as Christy expressed, I don't want to set that tone where we are going to start allowing 4-story buildings. We already have a few then that they are not of my liking. So I will go still more in the preference of this presentation that saved the barn, because it is important to some of our residents. But I'm still not completely in love with the 4th floor unless they can come up with a design that will minimize the mass of how it affects Elm Street. Ed already explained how this portion here will probably have to come a little bit back to be on code. But this section in here, I would love to see something different a little bit different in order for me to decrease the mass and the effect on Elm Street so that the building doesn't look as large. But I do prefer this rather than the one that has the 8 units. I think that there is too much. Yeah, I think that is too much. It eliminates the space that of the porch that you described, that it brings a charm to the design, and it of course sacrifices the barn.
Yeah, do you?
So what's our consensus?
We have some,
consensus?
we have some fence
Let's take a
sitters.
consensus
So,
of
yeah,
the-
could we, excuse me, Patty,
Why
so,
don't we
so
start?
we have some fence sitters, and maybe they've been affected by some of the other comments. So perhaps we can straw poll just to see if you have a consensus one way or the
Can
other.
I just ask a question?
Sure.
Because and maybe this is unfortunate, and I'll apologize for it, but I didn't look at the, like the specific wording. I thought it was for like the greater good or the benefit of the village, adding the 4th story, and with this residential diversity. I mean, I think that an affordability standard is slightly different. I think, you know, we're not talking about the front of Main because it's gonna stay the same. So you're talking about like the side of Elm, like keeping the open space and making the barn stay like, and this isn't our purview either, but I assume the AHRB would work on it being like historical, like, you know, everything in the vision plan says that designs in the downtown should be complementary to the history, whether it's Victorian or something else, and I assume that they would do that. I think that does give a lot of residential diversity instead of just building, keeping the open space and that, especially when you're coming down the aqueduct and you're walking there. I mean, it just gives like a nice break. So I think there's a strong argument to be made that there's residential diversity, and I think that having 2-bedroom apartments that are nice and in the downtown and walkable with parking is attractive to some people, not everybody, whether it's a rental or not. But I'm wondering if we, to make this decision, and I'm not sure if that's true or not, like maybe what I've said is sufficient for me, but do we need to look at like the other streets, like Chestnut and I'm gonna blank Oak and all the other tree names.
Let me just,
To make that decision on the residential diversity?
To look at the other streets for the purposes of collecting data?
Yes.
On what basis?
I was just gonna say, to see if there are other 2-bedroom units.
No, like I think that there's an argument, and I believe a strong argument that there's residential diversity for the reasons I just stated. Like, do I need to like go confirm that my opinion's like correct?
No.
That's a mess.
No.
I mean, I don't have an inventory of what Oak and, well, I do know Oak Street, what it looks like, but, like the other streets, what they look like, so I just wanna make sure.
But if you will really, I mean, the other streets that are close by, you have the post office and you have Sam's. The level and the height of those buildings are at a nice height. Then you have Elm, that then it will, you know, it kind of keep that same charm. And then, of course, Chestnut. And that changes the whole
Comes for
concept.
78 Main is.
Patty, if we go with the December version, right? Does that displace the people in the front building?
The realistic answer to that is any work that's done at this site is
Yes.
going to interfere with the.
Interfere with it, okay.
Somebody asked me at the sidewalk, would people who live there be allowed to come back? I think that would be their choice if they wanted to. We've done a lot of renovations of a lot of buildings. You know, we have had people who lived in buildings that came back to live in them, but often what they do is they find another good place to live. As much as we'd like them to come back, you know, they're set. We have a huge demand for housing in Downstairs. We have an enormous shortage of a specific type of housing in Downstairs, which is not the 60% AMI. In fact, if we were gonna target the AMI that we need to be going after, it's the 100 to 125% of the AMI. Those are your kids, my kids, Don's kids, people who like to live in Downstairs and are not making more than $120,000 a year. And right now, $120,000 a year is kind of a threshold for where the market has gone. You know, we've been very frugal with the number of apartment units that we've created.
Yeah, the median income, I think, is pushing 120, 125 here in Dobbs.
So if you're spending 30% of your income on where you live, that's not including just your rent, that's also including insurance, utilities.
Right.
So I mean, if I had a vote, which I know I do not, I'd be saying this should be 6 one-bedroom apartments, and I wouldn't care about the number of parking spaces that need to exist. Right? I have a parking lot.
Right.
No, I've never had a problem finding a place to park. Never.
All right, so
All
can we-
right, so
can we come
let's
to a
take a
consensus?
consensus here.
Yeah, you
Trustee-
really should
Trustee
get
Nell?
the
So
straw
the
poll.
question is, are we referring this back to the planning board as it is? Yes or no? That's the question?
Well, no,
With the
we've
four
only talked about
stories.
the fourth story, we haven't talked about the pile-up. And the question, I think, from the March 14th memo was both.
Yes.
Right, so do we have a consensus on that? I don't know how we want to start.
Except if you don't have a consensus on the 4th, you don't need to even get to the,
Pilot.
That's true, Jim.
Very good point.
Right.
so,
So let's start with trustee Nell. No.
No, no to the fourth story.
No to the 4th. Trustee Taylor?
I have, Laura, I'm going to you to confirm that the way that we are talking about creating diversity, you believe
right.
is consistent with our code. Is that
yes,
correct?
I do.
That's what I was trying to get at too. Thank you.
Yes, is my answer to the fourth story.
Okay.
I'm yes, and again, hoping that the AHRB does something interesting and keeps that wall on Elm Street from being a sheer wall.
Makes sense.
I have to go next.
You want to go last? Do you have
I'll go
a
last.
Mine is, my vote is no to the fourth story.
Well, we're not voting.
Well, we're just.
No, you just-
just
I
giving
know,
our
but you said
opinion.
my vote.
Okay, my opinion is no.
straw poll, because you're being
You
asked
can't
to
buy
send
much
it
more
back.
time, Cole, come on.
I'm not, I know my answer. My answer is yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't voting for something, because I think that's an important distinction.
It is.
Lauren?
Only in consideration that the barn is safe and that there is adjustments made to the side of Elm Street, I will be okay with the fourth floor, but only with those changes made.
Now we have to discuss the pilot.
No, you have to.
Yes,
Now you have
Mr.
to-
Mayor?
It's already been
No, you
decided.
can't do that, Bob.
You can't do
get
that.
out of saying what your opinion is because you gotta, what you think is a consensus. It's not fair to us as
Isn't that the prerogative
trustees.
of the mayor?
No.
No, do your job.
Come on, Bob.
I'm still torn between the 4th.
I can give you a good answer.
No. Come on, Bob.
So what is the, it's 3-3 or?
No.
It's 4-3. It's four,
Yeah, it's 4-2.
it's 4-2. I'd have to go with what I really think is the right thing there, and that would be not the 4th story. I would go with 6 units or 5, whatever, and the parking on site.
Okay.
At the risk of prolonging this.
Why start now?
Don't worry, I'm not-
You don't have the floor,
I'm not gonna
trustee.
change my mind. I just, in the past, when we've referred things to the planning board, we've done so with sometimes some conditions to say,
Comments,
these are
right.
things that are important to us. And whether or not we need to think on exactly what that would be, or whether we can make that decision now, I don't think we should just openly refer it if there is a sense of, opinions about making sure, either in terms of, the number of units in the building, if that matters to trustees, or any other conditions that would be important to us.
Can it be a
Providing
half-
guidance is
Can it be a half
important.
floor where everybody has to crouch? That would totally.
So,
work for me.
for the record, we're not voting on anything, we're just expressing how we feel about what we saw. And again, Christy feels strongly that she doesn't want the 4th floor. I, parted with protecting and saving the barn. But again, that doesn't mean that I am 100% in favor of having the
Maura,
4th.
I don't think
no.
protecting the barn is a reason to approve it. It has to.
Well, I favor this plan better than the previous one. Because it's less massive and I like it better. It's something that I think fits the neighborhood better than the previous one.
So now we have to get to the pileup issue because now we're approving the 4th floor, is that correct?
You have consensus on the 4th floor, and now the pileup question has to do with 2 parking spaces.
Okay.
Does it matter that the consensus is 4-3?
No.
No, but that number will be taken to the planning board.
Correct.
So that they know that that's the number.
Yes,
that
it
can
will.
possibly be get
Absolutely.
back to them when they come back
Right,
with the
and,
4th
and
floor.
whatever motion you take tonight to refer it back will also contain A consensus of comments, of considerations for the planning board to take into
Won't be an
account.
easy one.
And 2 of them have been sitting here listening to all of us.
Which
fun.
by the way,
We do appreciate.
we appreciate, because I think it does make the process smoother.
And you have to be at those meetings too.
Okay, so what's the consensus for the pilot?
I think Bob should tell us his opinion first.
Yeah, Bob, you go
Yeah, Bob,
first.
yeah, you get your opinion.
I mean, I think with, I mean, I think
I'll
with,
go first if you don't have to go first, I'll go first again.
no,
Although it
I'll
makes
go
me
first
confused,
this time.
So I shouldn't go first anyway.
I don't know
To
what
be
I think
fair-
about it. I
to be
just- I
fair,
was just making a joke.
I mean, it looks like we have a Plan A and Plan B. Plan A, we need, I think, 2 spaces,
Right.
right? And
That's the
from-
one we're looking at now.
And that's the
That's
one we're looking
correct.
at.
Please be quiet, guys.
But I think no matter what plan we have, you're gonna have to have that in the downtown. So, we do have the parking on site. I would be fine with the 2 spaces. We have plenty of parking in the downtown now, so.
The other side, I want to go, because I've always
Yeah.
pushed for pilot,
Yeah.
I always pushed for, if you're building, we want enough spaces, but you're kind of rehabbing a building that's already there. And we, since we do, there will be at least 1 space for each unit. And that's another thing I would like to ask the board, is that those spaces are dedicated to people living in that building. They cannot be rented out to people who do not live in that building. So I'd like that to be a stipulation. And now that we have 99 Cedar, which is a lot of spaces, it will have, and these people, their address will be 100 Main, which entitles them to downtown residential parking permits, which would allow them to park at 99 Cedar and at the village lot. And it's only 2 spaces, there's at least 1 for each apartment, and we're only looking at 2 spaces, but I wouldn't just waive it, I would ask for a pilot for those 2 spaces.
We also have 7 curbside, so the practical reality is it's not.
And the pilot is 10,000?
5,000 each.
5,000.
5,000 for each space.
Okay. I'd be
Payment
okay with
in
the
lieu of
pilot too,
parking.
because, especially because of the location of, the building across from the municipal lot where the residents could in theory park overnight from like 6 to whatever time the meters start in the morning, I guess 8 AM, without paying the meters. It seems like available
But
off-street
if,
parking.
but if they have the permit, the downtown parking permit, they can park there during the day without having to pay.
Great, even better for them.
I agree.
Same.
I'm fine with the pilot.
I agree.
Wow. Unanimous.
So, if I may, we should entertain a motion to refer this back. We should include those thoughts and comments on how you would like it to be considered going forward, some advice to the planning board. And again, Liz and I can take a look at that, but I want you to put that in your motion, those most important points, and then because we have a tape available, I can work with Liz to be sure that list is bullet pointed and comprehensive.
Okay, so we're going to take a motion to refer this back to the planning board.
With the following
And
comments.
With the following. One would be the vote not to go with the 4th story, right?
No, no.
Nice, good,
With.
nice work.
Yeah.
With.
You have had a consensus
And-
straw
and-
poll, non-binding.
And the pilot
Grant the pilot.
granted.
Grant the
No,
pilot.
I think what she's talking about is the
The-
comments that we made about the residential diversity and the affordability, and that we're maintaining the open space, maintaining a barn structure for the garage so it stays with the historic nature of the downtown, and all the other numerous reasons that some of us stated for why this was okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're talking about not having a massing on the wall on Elm Street. I don't think, do I have to list everything out right now, or?
No, it's on the tape.
But thank you, Nicole.
Thanks for paying attention, right?
It's on the tape, and Liz and I will see that it's done, but I just wanted to be sure that the motion included some comments, and then.
Yeah,
you-
and the points I made about the vision plan, those are important. Because I
Yes.
think that we really do need to focus on that more, and I know we're all volunteers, so it's hard to like go back and review all these different substantive things. So if we could highlight it for them, make their jobs easier, I think that's better.
Okay, so I think you have
I
a
can
motion.
tell you where it is.
You have a motion on the floor.
Okay, so we'll take a motion?
That was it.
Somebody's got a second?
Second. All in favor?
Now, Bob, keep your hand down.
Just do it again. All in favor?
I think he was still on the
All in
fence, he
favor.
didn't know what he was doing, so he's voting
Oh, wait,
yes.
I'm in favor, you, okay. This is the official,
This is the,
Yeah,
just to
to
refer
refer
it
it.
back
right,
to the planning board.
right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
And all
All
against?
opposed?
Do
Opposed?
we have opposed people?
Anyone opposed?
Yes.
There we go, there we go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, no, you can't
Wait,
vote twice,
Bob,
Bob.
you just voted twice.
No, no, I'm counting the vote. We have two against.
Two against.
Two against.
2 against.
Okay, thank you.
You're good.
That was almost 2 hours.
I'm gonna watch this like 5 years from now.
I think it's time out, we really flush out the.
I think we're done, Patty. You're done.
Done. No, I dare 40. Yes, I dare 40.
Okay. So we want to review the new plan for 41 Cedar Street. And we have Christina here, right? Christina? I think you can move that down, Christina. Christina Griffin is the architect.
We presented a proposal over a year ago to the Board of Trustees. The project was put on hold because the owner bought some property from the adjacent churches so that we could add 5 feet to the west and 2 feet back. And we have come up with a different layout for the units, which I'd like to present to you today. I'm also here with our team, David Smith, planner, Carlino Cole, who is the traffic consultant, in case you have any questions about
Okay.
that.
Yeah, we had a suggestion for Control L.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to get this to be one big page.
Hey.
Would you like to come to more
I'm sorry, did you say they're all 2 bedrooms?
Pardon?
Did you say they're all gonna be 2 bedrooms?
Bedrooms, 2.5 baths. We're planning to meet the zoning code and all the specs. It's a 3-story building,
Are they planned as rentals or condos?
probably condos. We are planning to have a garage, a ramp down to a garage in the basement. That garage will have the 24 spaces, and then we have 3 spaces on the street. So this is our garage plan. These are the 3 spaces down below, 1 handicap,
I have a few questions, if I could. One of the things that, when a year ago, when we talked about this project, that I think I and perhaps other trustees expressed as a concern is putting another curb cut on Cedar. In my opinion, is that this is one of the most congested and heavily trafficked areas of the village, and one in which taking away an off-street parking space, which you're doing with the curb cut, is potentially a problem, and adding another place where you're gonna have cars coming and going presents a problem. And we talked about whether there might be a way to use, to work out a deal to use the existing driveway for the church with some kind of an access on the side of the building, so that you didn't have to make another curb cut and create another place where traffic would come and go off Cedar Street.
Well, one reason why we actually have a traffic consultant here and planner from the beginning is that we are looking at this very carefully. And I think that there isn't, first of all, there's a great difference here, and I'm not sure if we have looked at that seriously. And there have been a lot of negotiations, I know, with the church, and I'd have to find out if there was any discussions about that.
And I and I'll wrap up my initial thoughts so that you can hear them. I would also have concern about just adding that number of residential units to that particular spot in the village in terms of just how much activity there is there already as far as congestion is concerned, and what the impact might be on traffic coming and going from the site.
No, the challenge with a lot of these sites, in order to provide the parking required, you usually have to go under the building, first hide the cars, and the garage, which means there's a lot of, we have to make sure there's enough units to support the cost of that infrastructure. But if you want any comments about traffic, we've already have some preliminary study about that.
Well, let's see, the other trustees, I'm sure, have questions, comments.
Absolutely, that was one of the topics that I mentioned when I saw the first presentation, and continues to be a concern. It was one of the number one issues that I had. Number one, the number of units, as Larry expressed, I live here in the downtown, so that is one of the busiest streets in this downtown. And the number of apartments is a concern to me, as well as the entrance, the garage, to have that right next to the one that is right by the church, which I see constantly people making illegal U-turns in there, which creates a lot of congestion. It's just what it represents a concern for safety, at least from my end, based on what I have witnessed.
I think that was my concern too in the beginning, was the, excuse me, the additional curb cut on Cedar Street there. So what advice is there, but I don't know if there is going to be a curb cut on Cedar, regardless of how many apartments or whatever. Is there the traffic consultant might be able to help us with this, some pedestrian safety features that can be put in there? I don't know if some kind of a warning system, or some way when the cars pull out, that there's something to keep them from speeding, from pulling straight out. I just wonder what kind of safety measures can be taken for cars coming out to protect the pedestrians on the street.
I just got approval a few months ago for a project in Hastings to have electronic devices that monitor the pedestrians coming, and actually like a virtual stop sign to keep cars from, or making sure the drivers are aware of any kind of pedestrian traffic, and even cameras. There's lots of devices that we can use now for that. As far as we know, we actually reduced the number of units by one from last
when one of the units is empty? One of the commercial units currently? Like the retail in the front?
Well, I would say, when you're looking at it, you look at it as if it was fully occupied.
Oh.
Because if the development didn't happen, and the tenant had space, you're gonna have that traffic.
Got it.
So if we're looking at if it was fully occupied today versus what it would be listed in project.
Right.
But would the traffic patterns change as far as the timing goes? I mean, people will go to a restaurant at 7 o'clock at night, but people go to school, if they have kids or go to work, they'll try to catch the train. Wouldn't that change the traffic patterns?
Slightly, but also take into consideration, 15 residential units is really not a major traffic generator. You're talking during a peak AM hour, you might have 7 or 8 in that one confined hour coming out. So you're looking at one every 4 to 5 minutes. It's something that you wouldn't even really notice with the existing background traffic on the roadway already. And to the point of having the access point along Cedar Street, I think from a traffic standpoint, that actually makes it safer and more efficient. You're consolidating the access in and out of that driveway as opposed to more on-street movements where people are trying to parallel park, back in and out of an on-street parking space, getting in and out of your car on the street. So there's a safety aspect of taking all that traffic off the street, so to speak, and bringing it into one controlled access point.
But are you taking in consideration the retail that is going to be on that white section? Because as she just described, it could be a restaurant. So what type of traffic will those type of retail bring versus the ones that are currently there? With some of those stores sometimes are not even open until noon.
Well,
Could
so
be more traffic.
the 2,900 square feet of retail could potentially be a restaurant today. So we're looking at it without knowing what the use may be, and it could change over the years. We're looking at a conservative general retail use that would be the most significant traffic generator, so to speak, from a general retail perspective.
We guessing.
So the calculation you're using is the worst possible scenario?
Yeah, so there's all types of different land uses that you can consider, but we're looking at the most conservative, and we're using the same one for existing versus proposed addition, so we're trying to provide that apples to apples comparison of what it could be or what the incremental change would be.
What is the level of traffic now on that street, based on your study?
I'd have to go back and check. I don't have that, the volume of traffic on Cedar Street now, you mean, going by the.
Yeah, yeah, on Cedar Street.
Traffic is. I don't have that number right with me, but I can get that to you.
Okay.
And what we're doing is just itemizing these things to pass on to the planning.
Which, by the way, Christine, very nice improvement on the outside of the apartment, the design, very nice.
Yeah,
Looks
don't let
very
that
good.
go under, like, this looks, I was like, oh, yay, excited. when I saw
What
it.
is
I was
it?
like, oh, this would be
What-
fantastic.
what-
there.
just
If
a-
we could just not have it be a traffic issue.
This isn't necessarily the basis for anybody's decision, it's just an observation that that is a spot that would be a very sensitive spot to have a long-term major construction project. In terms of the impact on adjacent businesses, parking, and all the rest of it. So I think that's one of the things that ought to be thought about with respect to particularly given the level of excavation that you have to do.
How long do people have to finish projects of this scale? In the code, how long do people have to finish projects of this scale?
You issue a permit for 1 year and then are able to extend it, depending on the circumstances, for 6-month periods up to 3.5 years. We've seen most of the big downtown projects have been completed pretty quickly, past 66,
Because it
78.
behooves everybody.
And 75 is moving along very well, too. Some of the smaller ones, one-family houses
Want to see
take
the back?
5 years, but
Or never, ever
But
finish.
when there's this much money involved, they tend to move along a little faster.
Do we have any views of other sides of the building, like the back, for example? Because I was curious if there was an opportunity of moving that curve cut to, as an entrance to the back of the building instead of the front of the building. I am not familiar with what is behind there, and I don't see anything in here that show me the back of the building.
There's a.
It's a house back there?
Retaining walls, big drop and grate in the back, that exists. And, there's a, Presbyterian church that's back there, their parking lot. It's quite a drop.
Oh,
20
CNS,
feet or more.
Community Nursery School's behind it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
Oh.
behind,
So there's no way you
Don't
can
go
use
to
their
that.
lot?
Nope.
Yeah, I just kill my view right now.
She would kill you.
Yeah, this is our first go around. It's only, we will do all those views. And I also want to mention, we're going to prepare a construction management plan as well.
The parking spot, we're losing a handicap parking spot with this, is that right? Or no?
You would, well,
We wouldn't?
pull them back.
We could put one back, of the three, right?
I have a curiosity.
It might actually, I'm sorry, just to make an observation, depending upon the circumstances, to be able to get visibility, it could possibly be more than one spot, no?
For visibility.
In other words, to
Yes.
be able to see, because if you have, you've got, your picture has a nice big pickup truck on one side, if you have one on the other side, and a single parking space, you know, Donna, you would be more expert than I from your work with the traffic committee.
20 feet long in that area.
Oh, they are? So they're long enough, Ed?
Yeah, they have 10
Okay.
feet in
Yeah.
between.
Well, we are, our plan shows a 10-foot distance from the driveway to the first spot on, closest to the driveway, but we will be doing sight line studies to see what is the safe distance that needs to be for someone to see coming, going from the driveway into and out of the driveway, and for the sight distance of also cars coming up to the, crossing, coming up the street in front of the driveway.
I'm
Where are the
viewing
poles?
what
Where's
is
the
currently there right now, and, you know, as I'm sure you saw in the presentation that we just had from the downtown task force, there is a great effort for us to continue to keep a vibrant downtown and to bring in more people. So I'm looking at what is currently there, and Piccola is there, the restaurant, and the cafe that is extremely popular. What are the chances of those retail stores being replaced in the location that you are planning to have? Just because I think that these businesses are part of our village. I know that there has been a lot of concern with this development because it will mean losing these businesses. And as a result, it might be an actual problem for us in the village, in the downtown, because it will be pretty much a loss of traffic into the village and people that they frequent these places.
I'd like to come back with a response to that. We've had a lot of discussions about the displacement of business owners. But right now, I just don't think we're ready to discuss it. But we are thinking about, we know that they're very special places there. I go there all the time as well. So, Cindy Latte and Piccola, that we really, I really like the idea, because I also live locally, that you would want to think about your business people and what is going to happen to them during the displacement. But I'd rather come back to you and put some thought into this.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we need a motion then to go back to the planning board?
Is that what we're doing tonight? Because the agenda just says review new plan before it goes to planning board.
But I think you have to refer it back.
We gotta refer it, I think.
Okay,
I'd
but
like
then
to
she
make a
just said she
motion.
wanted to come back to us with more information, so I was
Yeah,
not sure
I don't
if
think that
that's.
this is ready to go to the
Really?
planning board.
I'm just
I know.
asking.
I think we have enough to go.
I'm
to.
fine.
We have
Yeah,
enough
I
to go to
think
the.
so.
I'm not saying-
It goes to the planning board.
That's
It's
fine.
public hearings, and it comes back to
That's
us
fine.
in the end, so.
It'll go to the planning board with your
with our comments.
We'll put the
With-
comments
with your
in like we
comments,
did with the,
yes.
okay.
And we have the benefit of the ears in the audience tonight, too, as well.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion to, trustee Nell, second. Trustee Rosillo, all in favor? So we have 6.
So I was.
Oh, you're up, okay. Unanimous. Liz? Unanimous. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Appreciate
I
it.
want the traffic study is really
Thank
important
you.
for that.
Yeah, the
obviously.
traffic study is very important, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk now about the Adopt a Park, Adopt an Island program. And Charlene, are you going to comment on this?
This is a new program that we're instituting. It's a work in progress. It's our first year. It'll start April 1st and go to May 30th of this year. It starts in May 1st, I'm sorry, and goes to April 30th of this year, next year. What we want to do is to encourage volunteerism, basically, but having it under a manner in which it's controlled. It's controlled in the sense that we know what areas are going to be adopted, what plants are going to be planted, how they're going to be maintained. And in fact, even before this whole thing has been sort of adopted by the board, Don Mara has already adopted an area.
Which one?
And we're very thankful to him for doing so.
Sure, it's Willow Point,
Huh?
where you adopt
It's-
Willow Park, right?
It's by the docks.
Is that where,
By the willow
that's where,
trees, yes.
I
It's
think
in
the
where
Woodland
his
benches
Park
are.
bench
by
is.
the docks.
Yeah,
So that place is going to be spanking clean.
thank you, former Mayor Don Mara.
And what we're going to do, we sent it to the Sustainability Committee, and they've looked at it, and they're going to help publicize it. It also went to the Rec Commission, and I believe Friends of the Waterfront had it also.
Yes, I sent it to them.
So, so we have enough input in it, and as I say, this is just something that we put together. There were suggestions made, and good suggestions by sustainability, as always, and we incorporated them. The big issue now is going to be to publicize it, so get it out to everybody. Obviously, we're going to put it on the website. Sustainability will put it on their website. We'll put it on the DPW website.
The Downtown
and-
Task Force will take it too.
Great, great. So we'll start distributing it to anybody who wants it, and then leave it in the library. Elizabeth is always very helpful with that. So, and we see where we can go with it. We have areas that we're particularly interested in. We have the native plants, and it could be just volunteerism, that you get a group and you sign up, or you can donate money to do an area that you have particular interest. We will provide the signs of who, of sponsorship. And so it will read, kept by Adopt an Island, Adopt a Park, by blah, blah, blah. So I hope we have a lot of calls, so that we can have a lot of signs. And that's basically it. It's not too much of, it's just something, you look at the pictures and you look at the volunteerism that's happening now. You have the beautification committee, and they're doing the best they can, but maybe we can help them with their efforts also.
Thank you.
So that's it.
Great. Any
Just a
questions?
question about the fees, how is that going to work? Like, how much money do people have to agree to donate?
We don't have a certain.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll take anything.
But it's good, it's very well organized, the program's outlined in a lot of detail.
Yeah.
And I'm sure things like the fees will be worked out, but that's all gonna be part of the minutes and be available online
Absolutely.
for anybody who's interested.
Thank you.
Great. Okay.
I just think we should thank Charlene, Jen, and Kendra for organizing and putting this together.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will help the village be a better, more enjoyable, beautiful community.
It's a great idea.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so we'll take a motion to, I guess, adopt the program, which is adopt a park and adopt an island. Do I have a motion? Trustee Rosillo, second. Deputy Mayor Cassell, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, so we already did the resolution for the budget. We didn't?
No, we didn't.
Closed it.
No, we just closed it.
No, we just closed the hearing.
Okay. So, we need to take a motion to adopt the resolution that adopts the budget for 2019-20. Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Rosillo, all in favor? Unanimous. Consider a resolution authorizing tax certiorari settlement with petitioner Joseph Cuneo for property located at 213 Clinton Avenue. This
Yeah.
is for,
Yeah, you're going to, when you adopt this resolution, you should just certainly announce to the public the total amount of the refund
yeah,
and the
hold on.
location of the property. That would be helpful.
Can we get an explanation from Jeff on it? So.
Jeff, tell us about it.
Jeff, do you want to? Oh,
What's the paper copy?
I'm looking at it.
It's in the,
This doesn't have the amounts, though.
Somebody.
it's in the agenda, or the resolution.
Shirley has the information.
Charlie knows.
Joe
There
Danko,
we go.
our certiorari attorney, really settled this case. I had
there we go.
spoken to him about it. It is 213 Clinton Avenue. It's for
Here we
2
go.
years. And there was an appraisal done. It went to court. They decided that this was a settlement. Most of these settlements are cut the baby in half in reality. And this is not a terribly big one, so I did not review the appraisals myself, but Joe and I spoke about it, and I consider this a good settlement.
And the total refund's $20,000.
Yes, $20,000, 85, yes.
20,885?
And 38 cents over 2 years.
Okay. So, do I have a motion to approve? Trustee Taylor? Second. Trustee Rosillo? All in favor? Okay, consider a motion to approve resolution authorizing a tax certiorari settlement with petitioner Vahid Noshiravani for the property located at Brayside Lane and Clinton Avenue. There's no address number on that one, huh?
It's
Well, it's 10 Brayside.
Brayside
Is it
Lane.
10 Brayside?
It's a big piece of property, and there's a lot of lots.
Right. So the total is 27,846.53. For 3 years.
And again, this was, I discussed it with Joe Danko, and I believe this is a proper settlement. Again, it is not a terribly big settlement, so I did not look at the appraisals myself.
Right, and the 2018 will actually be a little bit less than that, because the tax rate, he used the existing tax rate when he put his estimate together, because we didn't have the new tax rate yet.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee DeRossi, all in favor? Okay. Consider a motion to approve orders number 3, number 4, and number 5 for April 2019 as recommended by the village treasurer. Jeff, do you have any comments?
No comments at this.
Trustee Taylor?
I've reviewed, and I would make a motion.
Okay, motion. Second. Trustee Rosillo, all in favor? Okay. Consider a motion to approve a request from Dobbs Ferry Conservation Advisory Board and the Riverkeeper to have the 8th Annual Riverkeepers Hudson River Sweep at Waterfront Park and on the beach, May 4th at 3:30. Motion? Or you
Yeah,
want to talk about it?
Yeah, I just want to say that the CAB does this every year with the Riverkeeper. And we're doing it at 3:30 because that's low tide. So come on down. There will be, I think we have some water, bring your own as well. There'll be garbage bags and stuff for collecting the refuge. But if you can bring gloves, that would be great. Bring your own gloves, that would be a big help. And it's usually fun, and usually there's a nice turnout for that. So I encourage people to come down and help clean up Waterfront Park.
Yeah, we usually have, last year I think we had the Scouts come
Yeah, I
down,
think
and
some of the scouts might have.
a lot of different groups came down, so we had a good turnout. It was similar to the Great Sawmill River
Yeah.
cleanup, which is great. Okay, so do I have a motion? Deputy Mayor Cassell, second. Trustee DeRossi, all in favor? Unanimous. Minutes. Any comments on the minutes from the last meeting? Nope.
Nope.
So do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Trustee Rosillo, second. Trustee Nell, all in favor? Reports. Trustee DeRossi.
It's a shame that there's nobody sitting in here, but I wanted to just say that I've been observing the way that the motion of our traffic in the downtown, especially because this is where I move the most, but even driving the girls to school when we go over to Springhurst and the middle school. And I just want to really report that it is amazing how many people in this village eat stop signs, eat red lights, speed, cut people off, don't allow people to cross the street. And then we're sitting here and we complain about traffic, and we complain about no parking, and we complain about, the things that they want us to find resolutions and problems to these issues, resolutions to these problems. So I really, really wanted people to kind of, take back and observe the way that they drive and the way that they commute themselves in the village, because you will be surprised. And I encourage all of you to please keep your eyes open when you're driving, and same thing for a lot of the residents. We do a really, really poor job with the way that we ourselves drive. I personally like speed, I admit it, and I have been completely pulling back and making sure that I am watching my speed when I'm in Ashford and when I'm on Broadway. So please, I encourage everybody to please watch the way that you're driving. And my kids were almost hit on a crossroad the other day, so I'm very sensitive about this topic, because I think that we need to start paying attention to the people that are rushing down to the train station, especially on Palisade Street. There's a lot of speeding in there. So just please be mindful that there is people crossing the street, there is children around, and we need to be aware of how fast we're going and how we are respecting the traffic lights and the stop signs.
Great. Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Nell?
Just report that there's a Rivertown's Chamber of Commerce meeting tomorrow night at Lenizio in Ardsley at 6:30 p.m. And we're always looking for volunteers with the nominating committee.
Great. Trustee Sullivan?
Sorry. Yes, the library is hosting the first annual FerryCon on May 4th, which is our Dobbs Ferry Comic Con. It should be a good experience for all.
Great. Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Taylor?
Sure. A couple of things that are coming up. One, just to remind everybody, this weekend from 11 till 5 is, both on Saturday and Sunday, is the River Arts Studio Tour. It's an opportunity to see a lot of our local artists and support them by both viewing their work, their workspace, and understanding what they do as part of their creative process. It's a lot of fun and a good chance to walk around the village and meet and see your neighbors and some of the wonderful things they produce. There's much more information available about that on the River Arts website. Secondly, this Friday, there is a celebration related to Arbor Day that's being brought by the Tree Consortium and by the Sustainability Task Force. And that is Trees Are Life, which is an art and word show that is going to feature the work of Dobbs Ferry kids. That will be at the Dobbs Ferry Public Library this Friday, the 26th, starting at 6:30 PM.
Great, thank you, trustee. Trustee Rizzo.
I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Senior Month is in May. There are going to be a number of really great programs at the Senior Center. If you need information on any of this, you can get it on our website, or you can contact Abby Kinnett at 213-8529. Just a sampling on May 1st. There is a country center trip at 9:30. On May, what is the other? On May 7th, there's the Spring Fling with music and luncheon. On May 10th, there's a cardiovascular van. They've arranged to have, you come down, you sign up. When can you sign up? Let's see, cardiovascular van.
Call Abby for that.
Yeah, call Abby for that, yeah. There's no copay, you have to have insurance and stuff like that. But it's a full cardiovascular testing for free. So it's a really cool thing. And on May 13th, it's movie night at the center. Okay, and it'll be on, a movie at the center. And they have Green Book, the Academy Award-winning film, at 12:45. So again, if you have any questions, please call Abby or check on the website.
Great, thank you, Deputy Mayor. We also have the Drug Enforcement Agency National Prescription Take-Back Day, April 27th. And I think we have in the lobby outside the police station there is
That's where the youth
a
council.
container where
Yeah,
they can
our last meeting.
drop that off.
Thank you.
We also, Saturday, April 27th, at 9 a.m. is the Little League Parade, which goes from the high school down through town, down to Memorial Field, and a little ceremony. And the kids, parents, and grandparents, and friends and family get a big kick out of it. So it's a lot of fun. Do we want to announce the donation?
Mayor, yes, please do.
Okay. So, and it's okay to say the name of the
Yes,
person?
yeah.
Okay. So Marie McKellar made a donation to trim back some of the trees, and was there anything else involved in that?
Well, trim it and make sure that they're stable, and also mulch. There's a whole
All that-
program
whole
that's a
process.
very generous donation of Emerald, I think it's Emerald Landscaping Company.
Right.
And that she is contracting with them directly, and we're accepting that
That
donation.
offer.
Very generous, and maybe I should have mentioned it at Adopt the Park, because
Yeah, that's the
even
perfect-
before it happened. We
Yeah.
have Don Mara doing something at the waterfront, and a very generous donation by Marie McKellar.
Right. So thank you to Marie McKellar. It's very generous of her.
Do we accept it?
Yes.
All right.
Do we need a motion to formally accept, Lori?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes, you should.
So we'll take a motion to accept Marie's generous donation.
Take a motion.
Trustee Rizzo, second. Deputy Mayor Cassell, all in favor? Okay. And we need a motion to close.
Wait, may I? Just
Yes.
for a second, I just want to let the board know and the public know that your deputy mayor will be attending with me the 3rd Annual Affordable Housing Summit at Pace University next Thursday. And I believe she's also bringing some other interested individuals from your public.
Great.
So I had signed up for it. I've done this in the past through Pace University. It's a really good opportunity to talk about all things affordable housing, and they'll have people from all walks of life, including developers and officials from the county. So I thought it was a meaningful program. I did send it out to Deputy Mayor Castle, and she graciously got some troops together, and so we'll have a contingent from Dobbs Ferry, and I'm sure we'll be bringing some materials back to you for consideration.
Great.
I actually did that program.
What?
I
Yeah.
did that program previously. It's very interesting, and it's very good. It's at Pace, it's a good program. So,
And perhaps at the next meeting or the meeting after that, that small group of people will become an actual ad hoc committee, so, on affordable housing.
Charlene, do you have anything else that you want? No? Liz, would you like to report anything? Jeff? Okay. So I'll take a motion to close the meeting. Motion, trustee Nell, second trustee Taylor, all in favor?